Spider-Man is him. He is that guy. Spider-Man has been my everything for as long as I could remember, and 6-year-old me would be the happiest kid alive if he knew about the beauties of Spider Mondays. Spider Mondays is an event put together by Sony Pictures to celebrate the 100 years of Columbia Pictures. And what better way to celebrate the 100 years than to see Spider-Man on Mondays?
Spider-Man Monday? Spider-Man Monday? Spider-Man Monday? Spider-Man Monday?
Every Monday, a Spider-Man movie gets re-released in theaters, starting with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, probably to make back the money from that atrocity. This gave fans the opportunity to relive the experience of seeing films like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in theaters once again. However, it also gave some fans, including myself, an opportunity to experience Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy in theaters for the very first time. I've always planned on making a video dissecting these movies, so this is the perfect excuse to do so. We're going to be talking about the 3 things I like about every single live-action Spider-Man movie, and so, without further ado, let's get into the swing of things. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man introduced Spider-Man to tons of fans, including myself. I could be lying about that. I don't really know what sparked it all. I just remember Spider-Man being there. And I will forever be grateful for this absolute madman. This man understands the Spider-Man vision, and seeing these films on the big screen just proves that. This film focuses on Peter Parker, played by Tobey Maguire, discovering his powers, overcoming the thought of being selfish, and becoming Spider-Man. For a while, this was my favorite Spider-Man movie in the Raimi trilogy, and after seeing it in theaters, I think I finally realized why. The pacing in this movie is what really does it for me. We start off with Peter's field trip, which is where he gets bit by the genetically altered spider and really wastes no time at all. I love how it just gets straight to the point. I really like how when Peter's chasing his uncle's killer down to the ends of the earth, he lets vengeance consume him. He just straight up lets the guy fucking fall down to his death. I really like this because it feels more realistic to a kid who just witnessed his father figure get fucking murked. Unlike in Spectacular Spider-Man, where Peter saves Walter because it's what Ben would want. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I honestly don't think Peter would have had enough time to react when his mind is being consumed by vengeance. The Green Goblin.
Hello, my dear.
Who is played by the GOAT, wearing some random sports thing, Willem Dafoe, and holy shit. He is easily one of the best parts about this film. He absolutely nailed it as Norman Osborn, facing the consequences of using himself as a lab rat, which alternatively leads to his death at the end of the film.
Oh.
I remember being fucking terrified of the Goblin as a kid, just because of how menacing he was. So props to Willem to Drip for encapsulating that role of Green Goblin perfectly. I love the final battle in this movie so much. It starts off with Peter saving MJ and a fuck ton of kids, while the Goblin drags his ass to an abandoned building and just absolutely beats the living shit out of him. I love how Goblin took advantage of the situation and waited until Spider-Man was tired to make a move, and it was awesome. Of course, Peter locks the fuck in after Norman mentions MJ and how he's gonna kill her, which leads to a very powerful moment of Peter being conflicted on kicking his ass some more or showing sympathy to a man who tried to be a father figure to him, which ends up leading to his death.
Oh.
This also leads to some big-ass consequences in the next 2 films in the franchise. Up next, we have one of the greatest sequels ever to be created in film history. This film heavily focuses on the struggles of being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It's fucking awesome. I really hope the MCU's Spider-Man 4 takes notes. This movie is damn near perfect in my eyes, but what are the things that stand out to me? This movie handles Peter Parker perfectly, and I'm a sucker for characters that make you sit there rotting in bed and just thinking, real, or literally me. And oh man, just wait until we get to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh boy. We see Parker struggling with keeping up in his class, paying rent on time, constantly having girl problems with the one girl he truly loves, maintaining a friendship with his best friend, and keeping a stable job. All while trying to make his uncle proud. These are the struggles of the majority of college students at the ages 18 through 25, and I love that being showed, aside from having spider powers, of course. Unless if you're me, of course, I'm literally him. What are you talking about? J. Jonah Jameson. This motherfucker is easily one of my favorite parts about this film. Every time he's on screen, I always get so joyful simply because he's him. J.K. Simmons kills it as Jonah, to the point where I hear his voice when reading Spider-Man comics. Most recently, Ultimate Spider-Man. You should go give it a read, and fuck the 616 run. Simmons as the Triple J is so iconic. Most of his iconic scenes come from this movie too. You'd probably seen the scene where he hysterically laughs at Parker on Twitter, or as a meme when clowning someone, even if you haven't seen Spider-Man 2. However, him being a goof isn't the main reason why I love his performance here. Yes, it plays a big role in it, but there's something I love more. After Peter quits being Spider-Man, Jonah could finally rest. All those years of being Spider-Man's biggest hater finally paid off. His sticky web-slinging ass was finally off the streets. Up until his son's fiancée got kidnapped by Dr. Cox, but... Okay, hold on, I actually need to take this shit serious. This is a very powerful moment. Otto kidnaps MJ, and that gives Jonah a reality check. Yo, I was wrong. Spider-Man kept the city safe, and I turned the people against him. This was all when we needed him the most. I fucked up. This shows that Jonah is an actual human being and genuinely cares about the people of New York. Then immediately goes back to being Spider-Man's #1 hater after Peter steals the suit back. The hating is probably for the clout, since that's what does sell papers after all, but it's still funny to me, but, however, a very powerful moment. Aunt May. Aunt May? Why the fuck is Aunt May on the top 3 things I like about this movie? What the fuck? She's an old lady with no powers. Shut the fuck up! Aunt May is the reason why Peter is the way he is. One could argue that Uncle Ben was the reason why Peter locked in, but May has always been there for Peter. And in this particular scene is exactly what I want to talk about.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride, even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most, even our dreams.
I cannot stress how much this scene has impacted me, not from a story point, but with life in general. Every day, this scene is one of the things that I try to live up to, and is what motivates me to be greater. May snapped Peter back into reality and made him realize that fuck what people think. The people of New York need Spider-Man, and I think that everyone should take from this scene is to try and be a hero. You may not have superpowers to do so, but you have the responsibility. Now, this movie isn't the greatest in the trilogy, but it's not bad at all. Yes, I still have my problems with it, but rewatching this film in theaters made me realize it still holds a good story and has inspirational moments in it. Flint's arc is so wholesome to me because he was willing to do whatever it takes to get his daughter the resources and funds she needed, even if it meant breaking the law. Even after getting his powers, he still cared for his daughter, which is a huge inspiration to non-experienced fathers out there, and of course experienced fathers as well. Shout out to all the single dads out there. The entire movie, Peter is full of rage and anger, holding a grudge against Flint for capping his uncle. The rage gets even worse when he acquires the symbiote, as he was pretty sure he killed Flint. If he knew he wasn't dead, he'd for sure go back and finish the job. This gets to a point where May, of all people, was disappointed. Yes, her husband was murdered in cold blood, and yes, she had every right to feel anger and want nothing but the worst for the killer of her husband. Instead, she knows it's not what Ben would want, and knows every life is valuable, no matter how big or how little. After Flint explained what happened when he encountered Uncle Ben, Peter was hit, thankful for the truth, and forgives Flint Marko, and moves on with his life, trying to repair the damages he's done. The symbiote suit. While yes, I'm not a fan of Topher Grace's Venom at all, I love the symbiote in this movie. This is the first time we've seen an alternative suit for Peter in this, if you're not counting the human spider. Oh, but the red and blue suit is different in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Shut the fuck up! They're all similar. Okay. I'm willing to admit the 2002 suit is a whole different suit, but 2004 and 2007? They're damn near the same. Anyway, the black suit looks pretty damn slick though. I used to complain that it's just a recolor of the red and blue suit with slightly altered logos, but honestly, it looks really cool and it's iconic, so I'll let it slide. Sure, it'd be nice to have the iconic symbiote suit in live action, but what we got isn't bad at all. Let's hope Tom, or Andrew, if Sony is smart enough to make money, gets the symbiote suit we've all been waiting for. This suit also alters Peter's mood and makes him very angry and edgy. This gives us the iconic emo Parker memes that we'll never fucking hear the end of. It was funny for a bit, but holy shit, some of you guys be dragging this shit onto the ends of the earth and I'm tired of it. Also, this is before tendrils were a trend for symbiotes, so it's kind of cool just seeing it enhance Peter's strength. I remember back in 2012 waiting in a long-ass line with my dad to go see this movie because we didn't buy our tickets online. And honestly, I'm not even sure if that was a thing back then. It might have been, but I wasn't paying for shit, so I have no idea. I walked out of that theater absolutely amazed. I remember when my dad showed me the trailer for this movie, I thought it was gonna be one of those bootleg movies like The Amazing Bulk or Metal Man, which eventually got renamed to Iron Hero to be closer to Iron Man, simply because Tobey wasn't Spider-Man. My small child brain deadass thought Tobey was actually Spider-Man, and they just had the camera on whenever he was just about to kick ass. To this day, this movie still holds up as one of my favorites, and I'm glad people are starting to realize that. Mark Webb wanted the world of The Amazing Spider-Man to fit in with the real world. What does this mean? Well, for starters, everyone has smartphones and is embracing technology. Skating is starting to become trendy again, everyone's style is trendy, and Peter's police scanner is just cobbled together using random tech parts. Just little stuff like this gets people like me more hooked into the story, and I love that. The visual effects are fucking amazing, especially in this scene. This scene right here is my favorite scene in the entire movie. I love the idea of Peter helping Ray at the bridge when Connors first lizarded the fuck out. So he helps Peter after seeing on the news that he was struggling to get to Oscorp. People complain about this scene because it feels forced. And to that I say, fuck you! This is a way of showing help. Being like a force multiplier. When you help someone, you help everyone. Not to mention, this scene just looks cool as shit and is my favorite web swinging scene of all time. This is also the first movie where we see Peter actually construct his suit, and it looks realistic too. Now, I'm not talking about the suit design. As someone who's been making Spider-Man suits for over 8 years now, ain't no fucking way Peter made that TASM 1 suit looking like that. Sure, maybe the classic suit or the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, which was made by Gwen, by the way, maybe those are possible, but I digress. It's awesome seeing him utilize screen printing, sunglasses lenses, and constructing web shooters using wristwatches and tech from Oscorp. Mwah! Beautiful. And here's a bonus one, Ben's message. This message is just inspirational to me and I'm gonna throw up.
Peter, I know things have been difficult lately, and I'm sorry about that. I think I know what you're feeling. Ever since you were a little boy, you've been living with so many unresolved things. Well, take it from an old man. Those things send us down a road. They make us who we are. And if anyone's destined for greatness, it's you, son. You owe the world your gifts. You just have to figure out how to use them. And know that wherever they take you, we'll always be here. So come on home, Peter. You're my hero. And I love you.
Now, some people love it and some people fucking despise it. Guess where I am in this? I love it. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Now, I might get dragged for this, but I have my reasons that some people will find bullshit, and honestly, I don't care. Some will make the argument in this specific scene that Peter was being irresponsible by letting all those people die. And to that I say, it's funny, comical actually. If the writers or anyone in the story didn't say they died, they didn't die. I don't know, maybe they got out of their cars off screen since the vehicles were stationary. Pointing this out in this scene is just funny, but it does feel very comic booky and I love that. The suit. Yeah, so this is the best live action Spider-Man suit we've had on screen. The only way that the No Way Home Final Swing suit could top this in my eyes is if they gave it that classic back logo and got rid of a couple unnecessary points / arrows on the suit. Some people complain about the logo being too low, but I personally think it works because it does fit Andrew's build after all, and it makes the suit more iconic. The lenses are fucking amazing, no pun intended. They have the bug eye look while still looking like Spider-Man. This back logo may not be the classic tick, but oh my goodness, great googly moogly, it looks so good. The soles are unique. They look basic until you get a good look at them and realize it has a web pattern. Finally, these textures are just perfect. The semi-shiny red fabric, which is equipped with a faint brick pattern, as well as the navy blue with a black brick pattern printed on top of it, it's just mwah! Chef's kiss. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Sure, Spider-Man Homecoming shows Peter helping people with the little things like trying to return someone's bike, helping old ladies, attempting to prevent car theft, but there's one specific scene in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that always sticks out to me. It's when Spider-Man scares off a group of kids bullying a little kid by the name of Jorge. Jorge made a miniature wind turbine in school, I'm assuming, and it got destroyed by those dickhead-ass kids. However, Spider-Man repaired it and then proceeded to walk Jorge back home. This scene is extremely powerful and inspires me to be a better person every day and to look out for the little guy. Of course, we got other stuff that highlights Peter being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but this specific scene just stands out to me the most. Peter and Gwen's relationship. So, you remember back when we were going over Spider-Man 2, and I said I'm a sucker for characters and stories that make you sit there rotting in bed thinking to yourself, real, or literally me. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like seeing Peter and Gwen's arcs. So, in the previous film, Peter breaks up with Gwen because he promised George he'd keep her away. However, that's not what both Peter and Gwen wanted, so they got together again, only to break up on the day of graduation. This causes Peter to use being Spider-Man as a coping mechanism and a way to get away from the shit with his parents and his relationship problems. We see Peter constantly checking up on Gwen from a distance in a kind of stalkerish way, I'm not gonna lie. He thinks it's the closest he can get to still being with her, and they randomly hang out one day only to learn she's going to England, which leaves him thinking, I've lost my parents, I've lost my uncle, I've lost my girlfriend's father. Am I about to lose my other half as well? Of course, they're still attracted to each other, but sometimes things just aren't meant to happen currently. Like Gwen said, maybe they're on different paths right now. However, Peter tries one last time after May gave him a speech, which was cut from the movie, but it's still significant to me and the plot.
Hey, hi. How are you? I'm good. Good. Is Peter home? No, he's doing whatever it is he does. Right, yeah. Okay. Maybe you could give him a message for me.
You're late, Peter. You missed her.
What?
Gwen, she's on her way to the airport. She's going to London, England. Now.
No, she's not.
Yes, now.
No, she's not. She had the interview yesterday, and no.
Yes, she stopped by here, and she was in the cab, and she told me to tell you it was better this way. I don't know what that means. She's going, Peter. She's going. Now. Right now.
Oh, boy.
Peter, what is the matter with you? You love this girl with all your heart and soul. Does she know that? Have you told her? Oh, honey, give her that. The rest of it's up to her. And you don't have forever. None of us ever do. Yeah. Now, Peter. Come on! Go!
Okay. Thank you. Love you.
Peter and Gwen get back together happier than ever because they both plan on going to England, only for it to never happen. Thanks, Harry. The award for the fakest fucking friend goes to this big fucking scab. All that aside though, this is what makes me adore The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's nowhere near the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time, but it will always hold a special place in my heart. And one can find it relatable and learn from it. I'm gonna get a little sidetracked here If you're going through something, find what makes you happy. For me, it's making Spider-Man suits. That has helped me distract me for a lot of things, and I think it's very similar to Peter using being Spider-Man as a coping mechanism, so find what makes you happy. You don't need someone else to make you happy. Spider-Man Homecoming was the very first Spider-Man movie to be introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's gorgeous. Spider-Man was first introduced in Captain America Civil War, but we'll only be talking about the actual Spider movies, and not stuff like Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, again. For a good portion of the movie, Peter's helping the people of New York out with small things like helping old ladies and obtaining a churro, attempting to prevent car theft, attempting to return a stolen bike, and I like these aspects. However, I do wish the main focus wasn't to try and impress Stark, to become an Avenger, but there is something that did make me happy, and we'll jump into that a little later. The Vulture. Michael Keaton plays the Vulture in this film, and personally, I loved his performance. Sure, his design isn't a bald old man in a green spandex suit with wings, but I genuinely love the MCU design. The helmet looked fucking awesome and looks practical for a suit that's meant to be flown around in. However, my favorite thing about him isn't even something that was inspired by the comics. I love how they made him Liz's dad. This creates so much more tension and awkwardness between Peter and Adrian. Good old Spider-Man and his damn Parker luck. Responsibility. Like I said before, Peter spends a good portion of this movie trying to prove himself to Stark, that he has what it takes to be an Avenger. However, I feel like after the situation at the Washington Monument, Peter realized he needs to lock in and take accountability for his actions. However, at the end of the movie, Tony reveals the Iron Spider suit to him, only for Peter to say no and that he'd rather stay close to the ground and help the little guys. Sure, he thought it was a test, but the point still stands, and Peter made it a very mature decision. Only for it to get fucked in Far From Home, but fucking fuck, whatever. That's not the point. Spider-Man Far From Home takes place a bit after the events of Avengers Endgame, and Peter struggles with the weight of being the next Iron Man for some fucking reason, while also dealing with the consequences from Tony's past. All of this is happening, and Peter just doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He wants to be a kid going on vacation with his class and just live a normal life without, spidering, manning the setting. I actually like the idea of Peter not being in New York for once. Every other movie takes place in New York, and yeah, that's for the most obvious reason, but this is unique and I like that. Still kind of odd that the elementals are across the world from Peter, but actually, you know what? No. This is not Hydro Man, Molten Man, and Sandman, so it works out, I guess. I do like the idea of Peter not wanting his class to put the pieces together and that he might potentially be Spider-Man, so the stealth suit or the Night Monkey suit is a cool addition. It for sure was to sell merchandise, but it fits in the story really well and isn't bullshit, so I'll let it slide. Mysterio. Aside from Beck being Mysterio because of Iron Man, Mysterio is actually really fucking cool, and I honestly don't mind him using drones to be the master of illusions. Even though it was predictable, I still like the idea of Beck trying to convince everybody he was a hero when in reality he's just a petty little bitch who wants to watch the world crash and burn. And then they fucking killed him off. Illusion scene. Come on, everyone knew this scene was gonna be in the video. This is arguably the coolest scene in the movie visually, and I love that they used projectors to make Peter look like he was in the most classic suit possible, this being the Stark suit and the homemade suit, so the stealth suit wouldn't ruin the feel of the scene. Beck basically taunting Peter was so cool, and seeing zombie Iron Man, it was just fucking sick. I'm pretty sure this is the Mark 47 because that's the only model Sony is able to use, but I digress. The Spider-Man No Way Home era was a time to remember. Leaks were going around everywhere, and people were divided on if they were real or not. People were making false toy leaks that seemed real, taking set photos in Atlanta, DoorDashers snitching, and it was just an experience I will never forget. The hype was glorious, but all nostalgic bias aside, this is still a solid Spider-Man movie. It's action-packed, filled with hype, and has heartbreaking moments. The villains. While yes, it'd be nice to see Peter have some of his own villains in this movie, it was fucking awesome seeing Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Sandman, the Lizard, and Electro all make a return in this movie and pleased a lot of us fans who watched these movies growing up. Norman was as menacing as he was in the original Spider-Man 2002 movie, and if not, even more. This being because he was swapping personalities in the third act of the movie and genuinely gave me chills. Seeing Otto reconnect with Peter too was just so wholesome, and this scene makes me happy every time.
In the palm of your hand. Peter?
Otto.
Well, it's good to see you, dear boy.
It's good to see you.
You're all grown up. How are you?
Trying to do better.
Sandman was weird in my opinion. He was very poorly written. Like, why the fuck would you bitch and moan about wanting to go home and then fight the people who are literally trying to send you home? Like, what? Electro has the biggest glow up of all time, and I love him in this movie. While yes, I liked his character in TASM 2, there's no secret that this role was just 10 times better in No Way Home. The Lizard was just kind of there. I mean, it seemed like the writers didn't really know what to do with him. The Spider-Man. You knew it was gonna be on the list. We finally got all 3 live-action Spider-Men on the big screen together, and I'm all here for it. Seeing Andrew's lens when that portal opened up deadass had me tweaking in the theater in the best way possible. I have never been this excited in my life. Seeing Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3 all swing together was just an experience I'll never forget and has been a huge inspiration to a lot of people, including myself. Seeing Peter 3 still go through the struggles of Gwen's death and Peter 2 talk about how his future with MJ ended up working out in the end was just amazing, and it shows that the writers genuinely cared about this aspect, and I will forever be grateful for that. A fresh start. Spider-Man No Way Home ends off with Peter on his own. He literally has no one, but that doesn't stop him. He's getting his GED, enrolling for college, all while still being Spider-Man, donning the iconic red and blue threads. This is Spider-Man, and I'm all here for it. Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man lives on. This sets up Spider-Man 4 perfectly to be a grounded Spider-Man story we've all been waiting for. Oh, what the fuck? All in all, Spider Mondays will be an experience I'll never forget. I made sure to take the time out of my day to be able to experience these films in theaters, that being getting people to cover for my shift, canceling plans, and putting other stuff aside. All of it was worth it. Theaters were even giving out posters for every single Spider-Man movie as they were released, and I got every single one of them. All 9 posters. Wait, 9? Chris, are you stupid? There are only 8 movies that got released. Like, what are you talking about? Well, like I said, I wanted Spider Mondays to be an experience I'd never forget, so I just got the Spider Mondays poster. Fuck yeah. They're pulling it out right now. Hell yeah, bro. Alright, guys. We got the Spider Mondays poster. Spider Monday is officially over. I'm gonna lay this out. Some people might get mad at me for doing this. But I'm not gonna lie, we gotta celebrate the right way. We're gonna leave it quick. So yeah, Spider-Man changed my life for the better, and to that, I want to say thank you Sony Pictures, Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios, Disney, Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Rosemary Harris, Cliff Robertson, J.K. Simmons, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Thomas Hayden Church, Topher Grace, Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Sally Field, Martin Sheen, Reese Ifans, Jamie Foxx, Dane DeHaan, John Watts, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Laura Harrier, the CEO of Sex, Jacob Batalon, Marissa Tomei, Michael Keaton, and Jake Gyllenhaal for making me love Spider-Man.